what was it about your picks this week that, because you're going to use your formula, was there anything else? Like, because I looked at your picks and it's like, it's not exactly like wall to wall major players. You do have a couple of them up there, obviously, in Finau and Morikawa.
Yeah, this week is tough from a stats perspective and modeling perspective. There's nothing that really sticks out about TPC Scottsdale where like you need to have this skill set or you need to be excellent this specific stat. It's kind of like a well-rounded golf course where you kind of need to be good at everything. I mean, even strokes gained around the green weighs in pretty heavily here. Putting wise, these greens are like officially Bermuda, but they're like not. They have like POA mixed in, and they're kind of funky. So again, it's kind of tough. I did look at par five scoring, which tends to be important here. There's 3 par fives, but you look at the winners here, and they tend to do really well on the par five. So I did look at that. But again, it's to me, it's a week more to just pick the players you think are playing well leading in, have played well here in the past, because again, there's no like specific skill set or stat that really stands out as being super important this week.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, let's start with some of the players we didn't pick between the two of us. Neither one of us went with the top 2 players odds wise right now, and that's Rahm and McIlroy. We both talked about possibly taking Rahm and one and done, so it's not like we don't believe in Rahm, because he's played here 7 times and he's never finished outside the top 20. So that's awesome, which again is a reason why he's on our list for a one and done. He's coming off a 7th at Farmers, and he's still in a great run. 10 of his last 11 top 10s, 7 top 5s, and 4 wins with a runner-up. So that's as good as Rahm's ever been. And unlike Schauffele, who again we also did not pick at 11-1, but we were definitely thinking about him on one and done. 5 appearances, just like Rahm, never outside the top 20. But Rahm only has 1 top 5. Schauffele has got back-to-back top 5s, 3rd last year, 2nd before that. So he's even been a little bit better than Rahm, and he's still in a good run, too. He's got 13 top 20s in his last 15 with 6 top 5s. He's got those 2 wins, but it's still starting to get a little bit further away the longer we go since he's had those wins, which is, again, another reason why plus, the thing with Rahm and Schauffele, the difference with deciding which one to go with, if that was, say, a one-and-done deal for me, is that, again, we know how much Rahm wants to win here. So now maybe he'll try too hard. Maybe that's a negative. But Schauffele, it's just more of, he's good with the course. Rahm really wants to win here.
Yeah, I mean, Xander and Rahm are 2 and 3 in course history over the last 5 years. Xander's 2, Rahm is 3. They're both playing excellent heading in. To me, it's as always with these top guys, just the numbers. Was it plus 650 on Rahm? Just in a field this strong, like I just can't compete. And Xander is definitely his price has been lowered because of the history here. Like I think if he didn't have the course history, you'd be able to get him at 15, 16-1. It's just a bit too short for me.
Yeah, that I agree, 100%. Which is I almost had Schauffele on my picks, and that's the reason why I had to remove him. It's just 11-1 is too small, in a field like this as well. McIlroy, meanwhile, he's 8-1, and again, he only played here a couple of years ago. He finished 13th. So that's the thing too, is that he hasn't really played the golf course a whole lot. So when we're trying to nitpick these best players in these types of fields, these are the things in my mind that I think kind of eliminates Rory. It's just that he doesn't have a lot of experience here.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how much that matters. I think the course should be.
Oh, and he has low odds at 8-1.
And that's the only reason I didn't bet Rory. To me right now in golf, it's Rahm and Rory 1-2, and then a big gap down to everyone else. So I think Rahm and Rory deservedly are the clear top 2 favorites here. Again, if we're saying strokes gained off the tee matters more here than in most places, that's good news for Rory because he is one of the best players off the tee. So great spot for him. He'd be interesting to use in one and done too. I mean, I think he'll probably be lower owned than someone like Rahm or even Xander just because he doesn't have the history here. But I think Rory has just as good a chance to win this tournament as those guys.
Yeah, with Rory, it's going to be kind of tough, like not to hold him off for like the Masters or the U.S. Open or even Bay Hill. but especially Masters and U.S. Open, because he's getting really close to winning another U.S. Open, and you know how much. I mean, I don't think there's any way Rory's going to retire without a green jacket. I can't imagine it. I just can't.
Yeah, no, he'll get one. He deserves it.
So,
but again, just for one and done, do you want to use Rory at a tournament that only has a $15 million purse, or do you want to use him at one of these that does have $20 million? It's a pretty sizable gap.
It is. All right, and then Scheffler is also 11-1, but he'd have to win back-to-back, so that's a little bit tougher. And he's not exactly on form. Only 3 top 5s in his last 12, coming off an 11th at Amex. So that's kind of the reason where, again, he's easy to nitpick because he's 11-1 and he's not on form.
The funny thing about Scheffler, if you look at his stats, he has forgotten how to putt since he won the Masters. He off the tee and approach, he's been as good as anyone since that Masters win, but he's lost strokes putting in all but 3 measured events since then. So I don't know what's up with that. I do think once the putter heats back up, you're gonna see him as a top 3, top 5 player again. But yeah, that's enough for me to not bet him at 11-1.
Let's see, and then you have and these are again just the players that we haven't taken. Cantlay's 18-1. Again, we mentioned he's a very solid one and done option based on that second. He's got 11 top 30s in his last 12, 5 top 5s, 2 runner-ups, and a win. He's coming off at 26th at the Amex, which is a little bit disappointing as easy as that golf course is. Mm-hmm. But again, this is just one of those kind of. I still think Cantlay's a better one and done option, at least at some of these other places where he has history, including money places like Memorial and the BMW.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you there for one and done. For betting wise, I think 18-1 is actually not a bad number on Cantlay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think the gap between him and Scheffler and Xander shouldn't be that big.
Yes.
So if you do want one of these guys, sub 20-1, I do think Cantlay's probably the best value.
Yes, absolutely like that value. Agreed on that. Okay. Let's talk about a couple of my picks first because we're around that range. So I went with my top 2 picks, as you can see on the ticker there. I went with Homa and Thomas at 16-1. And with Homa, I know it's going to be hard to win back-to-back. There's just no question about that. At least it's not back-to-back weeks. But he does have, at least he's played here 4 times. He's got a top 10. And we know how much better a player he is now. He's got 7 straight top 25s, 4 top 5s, and a couple of wins. The thing with Homa, the reason why I put him back up there, well, first of all, I was getting better odds than some of the other guys. But I just, look, we know how good he is on the West Coast. We're still on the West Coast. And I also think that this environment is perfect for him.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. And if he could just find his way into the top page of the leaderboard on the weekend, as you've talked about before, you have to feel pretty good about his chances from there. But first thing, got to get there. But anyway, that's the reason. I just kind of feel that the energy of this place might just, be one of those things where, sure, maybe Max can win back-to-back. Sure, why not?
Yeah, and it's a tough thing to measure, but I do think this environment helps some guys, and it's going to hurt other guys. And I guess, looking at course history is one way you can kind of measure that. And Homa, has played well here. He's a big game hunter. He loves these big fields, beating the best in the world. So I think it's a good spot for Homa. You'll never hear me say anything bad about Max Homa.
And the other thing too is that if you look at it, because I'm still not going to hold off for him in a major yet because I need to see proof first. But he's also very good at Genesis Bay Hill Memorial. The thing that I'm thinking about if I possibly take him this week on one and done is we're still on the West Coast. That's the thing. And he's hot right now. Will he be as hot as we start going to those other events and we're starting to get away from the West Coast? That's why he's definitely on my short list for one and done this week. So,
yeah, I imagine I'll be using Homa in one and done next week at Genesis. Yep,
makes a lot of sense. And Justin Thomas is my other pick at 16-1 at the top. Now, Justin is not on form, but you look at Justin's career, and it just you don't necessarily need to take Justin when he's not on form. Justin is just one of these players that just goes out there, and if he's not on form, he can go out there and win. That's just Justin. It's been very difficult. I did very well with Justin early on in his career, made good money that stretch he had early when he won over in, I forget which place, it was Saudi Arabia, wherever it might have been I don't know if it was one of those events that was out there. And then he also won the one in Sony when he was just awesome. And I was riding him high early in his career, but then I couldn't get him again because he would disappear and then he'd win. And then he'd disappear and win. And I can't take a guy that does that. So that's why I'm not too worried or concerned about the fact that he's not on form. He does 6 top 20s in 8 appearances with 3 top 10s and 2 top 5s. It was 8 last year. And this is also a good environment for Justin. Justin loves this place, loves this environment. And so I picked 2 guys that if they're in contention on the weekend, I think they're going to just relish the environment.
For sure. I agree about the environment with Justin Thomas, and his finishes the past 2 events have sort of been underwhelming, but
yes.
he's had good rounds in there.
He has.
I think it was either Thursday or Friday at Torrey. He was awesome ball striking.
It was day 1.
Day 1.
Yeah, he had a very good day 1.
He just couldn't maintain it. So I mean, it's there. He just needs to do it for 4 rounds. I didn't officially choose Justin Thomas for our picks here, but there is a 22-1 on him. If you have MGM, there's a 21-1 on him on FanDuel. I bet the 22-1. To me, anytime you can get Justin Thomas above 20-1, it's nearly an auto bet for me.
All right,
and he's number 1 in the course history here. He hasn't won this event, but he's number 1 in course history over the last 5 years. He's been consistently strong here.
So again, another option definitely for one and done, as I mentioned at the top. Okay, now, by the way, Fitzpatrick is at 22-1, but he played well here in his first attempt last year, finishing 10th, but did not play well at all at Pebble. So, and again, like McIlroy only and Cantlay and these other guys, he's only played here once. So I'm not sure this is the week to take him. The only good thing is his odds are pretty decent. So. Now we move on to your top pick, which is Tony Finau at 25-1. Actually, we have kind of top picks. Finau and Morikawa are both 25-1. Now, Morikawa is like one of these other players that has only played here once, 25th in 2020, but now you're getting 25-1. And Finau has got only 2. This is the one that I'm a little bit interested in, and we saw the stat, which makes sense of why you now take Finau. But out of all the good numbers we've talked about, Finau doesn't necessarily have it. He's had 1 good result here, basically. That was a runner-up in 2020. He's missed the cut 5 out of 7 times. So I must know, besides the stat you gave me, why Tony Finau this week.
Yeah, I mean, the course history is terrifying. It's strange, like you said, he has the one. He lost in a playoff to Webb Simpson here in 2020. Otherwise, he's been horrible here. Which doesn't make sense to me because it should be a good fit for him. Tony Finau, his best part of his game is off the tee. And again, we talked about that being more important here. I think he's a better player now than he was for those missed cuts in the past. Again, like we said, first in this field in ball striking over the last 12 months. 11th best off the tee, 3rd best on approach. There's the par 4s here. There's 5 in the 400 to 450 range, and there's 5 in the 450 to 500 yard range. Tony Finau's first in both of those buckets over the last 12 months. So that should make this a good fit for him. And he's just playing well so far this year. 7th at the Century, 16th at Amex, 9th at Farmers. He was 2nd best off the tee at Farmers. So again, I'm kind of hoping that the course form isn't a thing that's going to hold because everything else to me lines up nicely for Tony Finau. And I do think that 25-1 is a nice number on him.
And Morikawa, now this is a little bit different because he is coming in on form. 6th last year in his last event. And 2nd, we know the disastrous finish at Century because I won't forget that. And then 3rd, his last time out, which wasn't a bad 3rd. Because he moved, he juggled back and forth on the leaderboard, and it looked like he was gonna get 10. Then he made a bad shot. So at least he showed some resiliency.
his performance at Farmers at Torrey was classic Colin Morikawa. He led that field in ball striking. He was second best off the tee, third best on approach. He just couldn't make putts, which, when Morikawa doesn't win, that tends to be the problem because the ball striking is almost always top notch. So you do have to hope he has one of those hot weeks with the putter, which he does from time to time. And when he does that, he wins. And this is another guy who's kind of just, it's a value bet more than anything else for me. I don't think Colin Morikawa should be 25-1. I think he should be 16-1, 18-1 tops in this field. So 25-1 is a close to an auto bet for me for Morikawa.
All right. By the way, Tom Kim is 28-1, but he's only playing here for the first time. So it's not a bad option if you like him because he's still hot. 11 top 30s, last 13, 6 top 10s, 4 top 5s, 2 wins, coming off a 6th at Amex. So if you like him and you want to take him, I have no problem with that at 28-1. Hovland is 30-1, but he hasn't played well here. He's missed the cut both times. So why would you go with Hovland this week? There's no reason to take him this week in a field this good when you can go with other players. You mentioned Young. By the way, he's 35-1. He was 26th here last year in his only appearance, as we said, coming off a good Saudi week. And then 28-1 is Matsuyama. Now, Matsuyama is interesting because of the fact that if you look at it, he's been pretty damn awesome here. 7 top 20s in 9 appearances. 5 of those are top 5s. 5 of those are top 10s. 4 of those are top 5s. 1 runner-up, back-to-back wins in 16 and 17. The problem, though, and by the way, he was 8th last year. The problem, though, is he hasn't had a top 5 in his last 12 on tour. But this is as good as a course as he's ever played at, and that's why if you are thinking of taking Matsuyama, if you're not thinking of taking Matsuyama, say in a major, like I am maybe at the U.S. Open, this is as good as an option as there may be for him.
Yes, for sure. On the betting side, he was one of the last guys off my list. I strongly consider him. I do think the course history is baked into his price. Matsuyama's been 35 to 45-1.
That's true.
He was there at the Farmers. He was in that range at the Sony even. So yeah, you're definitely paying for the course history a bit. I think he's a solid bet at 28-1. He just didn't quite make it for me.
Yeah. So again, a really good potential one and done option this week is Matsuyama. Okay. Then at 35-1, Spieth, by the way, is 35-1. 3 top 10s and 6 appearances, 4th and 21. But he just is not really on form right now because if he's not playing well at Pebble, then he's not on form. The other player at 35-1 I have in my picks, and that is Sung Jae Im. And he is 35-1, as I mentioned, coming off a 4th at Farmers. He has 12 top 35s in his last 13 with 4 top 5s, 3 runner-ups. So he's getting close to winning. He's also trending in the right direction with that 4th at Farmers. And he's got 3 top 35s and 3 appearances here with 1 top 10. So he was even somebody that I also was mildly considering for a one and done.
Yeah, I love this pick. The 3 guys that were like the last 3 off my card that I didn't quite get to were Sungjae, Cam Young, and Hideki Matsuyama. Like you said, Sungjae has kind of sneakily been good here, and he's coming in pretty nice form, especially last time out at the Farmers. He was awesome on approach at the Farmers. Came 4th, was really right there, could have won that golf tournament. So I like that pick a lot.
Okay, and then we move on. Let's, because I think we're going to take a jump now, and we might as well start with another kind of head scratcher for me, and that is your 3rd pick, Sam Burns. So again, not a horse for course guy. He's played here 4 times. He's missed 3 cuts. He does have a 22nd a couple of years ago. So why did you decide to go with Sam Burns this week?
Yeah, kind of the theme of my betting card this week is just guys that I think are overpriced, value picks. Yeah, Sam Burns. This guy's won 4 times over the last 21 months. I didn't go back and look, but there can't be many golfers in the world that have won 4 times over the last 21 months. Like you said, doesn't have a good course history here, but he's another guy I think is better, probably significantly better than he was for a lot of those miscuts. Back in 2019 and 2020, he did come 11th. Last time out at Amex, gained across the board, gained in all stat categories. So I do think he's coming in playing pretty well. But it's a guy who I trust to win if he's in the mix on Sunday, and I'm getting him at 55 to 1.
And look, if you just, even though he has been kind of quiet lately, ever since you can go back to the FedEx St. Jude last year, and he has not finished outside the top 35 because we're not going to count Houston where he withdrew. So he's got a string of top 35 since FedEx St. Jude, and he was 11th at the American Express. Really, the only bad top 35 was the Century. So he didn't play particularly well there. That's it.
He was horrible at the Century. But then he bounced back at Amex again, gained in every category. So I'm not too worried about that Century.
Yeah,
that was
we're talking 55 to 1 here. We're not talking
exactly.
35 to 1 even. We're talking a guy that's in the odds category of long shots.
Exactly.
So
value bet for me.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Also, when I looked at a lot of other guys around this range, like Keegan Bradley, Lowry, Harmon, Fleetwood, Hatton, even Power, Wise, none of these guys really have good histories here or have not even played here.
Yeah, again, to me, I think you want to be spending most of your budget this week on Sam Burns and higher. I don't think you want to be messing around too much with these guys beneath Sam Burns.
Yeah, so let's take a look. We always have to give our long shots, so let's go ahead and do that. We've given our top picks. So there's two guys that I have that are around your 55 to 1. We'll talk about. So I threw Thagala in there. I figured at 50 to 1. Again, he screwed it up last year. The only thing that I'm concerned with is that, and we talked about this with him, he's never had consecutive top 10s. He has not yet put together back-to-back events. Sure, he's had a top 10, top 5, bad event, and then another top 10 and top 5, but he's never done it back-to-back. So that would be the thing that would hold him back here, but sooner or later that's going to happen. He's coming off the 4th at Farmers, again, 3rd last year, and he's also never won at a professional event, and you can imagine why he choked here last year after never winning a professional event in this atmosphere. But look, he is playing well. He's got 2 top 5s in his last 4, and he's 50 to 1. And then Ricky was at 60 to 1. He was another player I put into that. And the reason I did that, a couple of reasons. One is because of the fact that he's really good here. He's got 7 top 30s and 14 appearances, so he's played here a ton with 4 of those top 5s, 2 runner-ups and a win. He has missed the cut the last 2 years, but I don't care about that because all you need to do is 2 things. One, see the fact that now he's back in form. We haven't seen form like this in him in over a year. He's got 3 top 15s in his last 6 with the runner-up at Zozo. Coming in with the 11th at Farmers put me over the top to put him into this long shot category because don't forget last 2 weeks ago when we talked about him at Farmers. He had that first 4 times he had played there, he was great. Then he was terrible for like 7 appearances, and I was going, this doesn't make sense. How could he go from that to that? Well, he finished 11th at Farmers. So so something is now back to working with Ricky. Is all of a sudden he played well at an event that he was not playing well for a long time. So that's the reason I put a little bit of trust in him at a venue where he's had success before.
Yeah, 11th at Farmers, putted well, but he was also really good on approach. He gained strokes off the tee, so he did it kind of how we want to see a guy do it. And yeah, like you said, 2nd at Zozo. He was also 6th at the Fortinet in September. So he does seem to be turning it back around, and this is a good course for him. He's 5th in our course history over the last 5 years. Definitely a guy who I think relishes this environment. So yeah, I don't hate the Ricky bet.
And then we both have 130 to 1 odds picks. You have Brendan Steele, and I have Bazootenhout. And
Your boy.
I've mentioned before I've won money back-to-back weeks on Bazootenhout in Europe when he won those events. So I'm hopefully I'm going to land him when he wins here. But I like him in this situation as a long shot because of the fact that he's got 6 top 30s in his last 8. 2 of those are top 5s, and he's coming in from an 11th at Amex. He shot a 62 in round 3 there. And Phoenix is like the closest like event you're going to get on tour to like a lot of those events over in Europe. Like, you know, those kind of like sandy kind of events. So I think this might actually be a good course for him, and he's never played here before. But to me, like you had said, it's very hard to take any of these 100 to 1 or long shots in this week. So I didn't have a lot to choose from. You went with Steele.
Yeah, just for the ball striking that we talked about. I mean, 2nd in this field in ball striking over the last year. And everyone's in this field. That's crazy to me that Brendan Steele is second. He's fourth best in strokes gained off the tee over the last 12 months, 11th best strokes gained approach. Last 3 times here for Steele, 30th, miscut, miscut. Prior to that, though, he had made 8 straight cuts at this event with 4 top sixes. So he does have some prior course history here. So again, I'm just sprinkling a few bucks on these long shots, but I do think 130 to 1 Brendan Steele. If he can find a hot putter this week, he could be in the mix.
And he is trending in the right direction. So he's improved each time out this year. He's played 3 events this year. He's improved each time, including his last event, which was the 20th at Farmers. So if he keeps it up, he might be in contention this week. All right, and then your really crazy long shot was Luke List. So you threw Luke List in there at 250 to 1. Why'd you do Luke List here?
Yeah, I think he should be 150 to 1 in this field, maybe even a bit lower. So we're nickel and diamond here, but I mean, Luke List won at Torrey Pines last year in a pretty good field. Like, I like that he showed that he can win on a big golf course against a tough field. 14th in ball striking over the last 12 months, so didn't quite make our top 10, but he's right there. He's 8th best off the tee. He's a really strong off the tee player, which I like here. Has an okay history here. Missed the cut his first 3 tries, but he's made the cut in 3 of his last 4. Top 30 in all 3 of those events. So again, just one of the very few long shots that has shown he can win against a pretty good field, which it makes me like Luke List at 250 to 1.
Okay, now as far as players that just barely missed my list, and also I'll throw probably a buck on across the board. I was thinking about Billy Horschel. 80 to 1 big odds on Horschel with 6 top 30s and 10 appearances, 2 top 10s in the last 3 years. So,
man, I wanted to bet Billy Horschel. Something's wrong. Something's up with him. He's fighting his swing or something. He has lost strokes off the tee in 5 of his last 6 events. He's lost on approach in 2 of his last 5.
Yeah,
he's just not playing well enough to me. But I mean, 80 to 1 for a player long term of his caliber with this course history. I mean, I thought about it. I just can't with the way he's playing.
But like you said, no top 5s since his win at Memorial.
Yeah, he's struggling.
That's going back a ways. Bradley, I would have liked to have taken because he's playing. We had talked about it, but he does not play well here at all. Also, let's see, Hoagie is 80 to 1. He's been okay here. Norman was 6th here last year at 70 to 1. KH Lee at 80 to 1 was runner up here a couple of years ago.
KH Lee loves the TPC courses too. He has a really strong history, and I don't know if that means anything. But...
Okay. Let's see. Poston, I was thinking about, and then you have him on your list too. I think he's 10th on your list.
10th in course history. Yep.
Yeah, because he was 11th 2 years ago, and in his last 4 events, they're all top 25s, including coming in 6th at Amex. So at 80 to 1, I was thinking about him a little bit, but he just did not make it. By the way, McNeely has a shoulder injury, so I doubt he's even going to play this week.
I don't know. That might have been a quote-unquote shoulder injury. He just wanted to get out of there because it was
maybe
not very pleasant weather in Pebble Beach.
You might be right. Mitchell, he's playing. Now, if you look at it, no matter what he finishes here at Pebble, he's trending in the right direction. And we talked about him as in this kind of way that we're talking about him again this week. He's a guy to keep an eye on because he was 10th last year, 16th a couple of years ago, and he's trending. So at 65 to 1, I was definitely thinking about Mitchell too. And
he's a guy I'm definitely going to be probably batting once we get to the Florida swing. He won at Honda. He tends to play well down there.
Well, look, that's another thing. Remember, we talked about time of year. He wins at Honda in March. He played well this week, and he played well here last year. So maybe this is the time of year that Mitchell kind of gets going.
Yep, I think so.
Let's see. Spawn was another 80 to 1. He's got 6 top 25s in his last 8. 5th at Century. So that was something I was thinking about. It's nice to see Taylor Moore. He's another one of these players to keep an eye on. He's getting close, but he's got to start contending. He hasn't contended yet.
Yeah, and I think his win's going to come at an event like Pebble, not an event like this. Yeah.
Yeah. And Pendrith played really well to close out
Awesome
Pebble.
Sunday. Yeah, awesome Sunday.
So he's never played here before. He's 100-1. Higo,
And
you liked him last week.
Yeah.
He didn't play poorly.
No, he had some really strong rounds again. I don't think Hiko's going to win
this week.
this event.
21st last year, and he's 150-1. So again, these are just some of the guys that.
What do you think about Taylor Montgomery here?
Taylor, I just, the thing I'm a little bit concerned with is, well, first of all, if he's 50-1, that's just ridiculous considering.
Right. Now he last I looked, he was 75-1 on FanDuel.
That's more like it.
So that was enticing. He's awesome off the tee, which we've talked about is important here, and he can get super hot with the putter. So I just don't know if he's going to get his first win here.
That's the thing. It's the first time thing. Look, again, it's happened. Mention that in the trends. If you look at it, two of the players that did not that were not, because again, I think we talked about it. Yeah, 7 of the last 10 first-time winners scored a previous top 10 prior to winning here. 2 of them were first-time winners. First-time appearances. So they didn't qualify out of that 7 out of 10. By the way, the other guy was Stadler, and he finished 11th. So basically, you want a player here. It's also good to know that you've had some success here before. Again, which is not a surprise considering the golf course. But again, Montgomery might fit into a Brooks Koepka in 2015 or Kyle Stanley in 2012. Never played here before. But then again, when Kyle Stanley won in 2012, he didn't have the field that Montgomery has to deal with this week.
Yeah. I'm with you that 50-1 is a no-go, but 75-1 gets a little interesting.
Yeah. Why not? Absolutely. The only question we have is that last event, was that a sign that he's no longer in that groove that he was in?
Sure.
But we'll find out this week.
Yep.
All right. So Genesis next week, right?
Right. My favorite course on tour. Pumped for that. Pumped for this week. I'm pumped for next week too.
Yeah, and that's another big one for one and done.
Yes, that's $20 million purse too, I believe.
Let's see. What do I have here? My short list of Genesis one and dones. We got Tony Finau, Max Homa. I got Morikawa. I've got Hovland. Those are my main 4 that I put on this list. And I also put just the usual suspect. I have Cam Young in here because he played well Genesis last year. That might be a good week for Cam Young.
Makes sense to me. I know Justin Thomas has had some high finishes.
Justin Thomas, too. Scheffler, and Fitzpatrick I also have.
Yep, and it's going to be another week to use an elite guy.
Yeah. How many more weeks? What's after Genesis?
We go to Florida then? Is it?
Oh, Honda's after that, right? Yeah, I think so.
I think so, yeah. We're already in Florida. Wow.
Then
it's Honda. Then it's Arnold Palmer.
Okay, there you go. Bay Hill.
Then it's Players.
Wow. So it's going to be, is that 5 out of 6 or 4 out of 5 of big events?
That are elevated?
Yes.
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Yep. So we got to come out of here with a couple
stretch,
of wins.
Big stretch. Got to get hot.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. So can't wait to talk about these events, especially the Super Bowl final round Phoenix waste management event on our show, which will be back on a Tuesday. Again, it's always good to record a show on a Monday. It gives everybody an extra day to take a look at what we have to offer here on the show. Don't forget, please, if you enjoyed the video, like it, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. Any of these future shows. Jan Stevenson will be back at some point. We'll have some other future guests as well. So it's not just Jared and I talking all the time all year. So we'll give you some of those those opinions, more variety here, and all that's always so good to add to the mix because you can't have more variety in handicapping golf. So, Jared, appreciate it. One more week, by the way, for football. It's Draft Sharks, huh?
Yeah, Super Bowl should be. I don't know who I'm picking in that. Yeah, you gotta pick yet.
I'm taking the Chiefs. I just the two
Chiefs,
things
yeah.
I'm taking them is that anytime I can get a edge on the head coach and the quarterback in the Super Bowl, I got to take it.
That's the thing. I think the Eagles roster is better, but yeah, edge to the Chiefs at coach and quarterback. And the other thing too, I think people are worried about Mahomes' ankle. I think
not.
Jalen Hurts' shoulder is just as big an issue. He has not been good since coming back from that shoulder injury.
That's a good point. Yeah,
I'm kind of leaning Chiefs too, but haven't made an official pick yet.
Yeah, because if you look at it, the Eagles not only, I mean, the Giants were not even. That's just come on. You just got he got handed a week off. But then after that, you played a team that was down to their fourth and fifth string quarterback. So come on.
Yeah, they got another week off.
Yeah. So yeah. And the AFC was clearly the better conference this year. Everybody knows that. It wasn't even close.
For sure.
So yeah, there's a lot of points, but we understand why the Eagles are the favorite. It's not a surprise. All right, Jared, appreciate it. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Greg. Good luck. See ya.